Hello and Ashe. How is your week thus far? How are you doing, my witchy friends and people who view my channel? Well, I really like to do book reviews, and I talk about the really good ones and I talk about the really bad ones, not so much the mediocre ones. And the really good ones for me is like books who have three new things to give me, because I'm on my path for a while now, and if I read another 101 book that is like the same like the gazillion others 101 books out there, I would simply barf. So this one is one of the really good ones, and I've noticed that nobody really critiqued it, nobody really talked about this on YouTube. The Horn of Evenwood, a grimoire of sorcerous operations, and charms and devices of witchery, by Ule Hef Puka, Robin Artisson. Now I know that Robin Artisson is somewhat of sorry, my WhatsApp is ringing. Somewhat of a person that is disliked in the pagan community, or at least he has a lot of controversial to his name. And so what? Alistair Crowley had it too. That doesn't mean we don't read him. That doesn't mean that we don't practice the things that he has brought to the West, like yoga and meditation. So it's worth it to read the things that people tell you to do and not to do. Now, Robin has this very, and it has been mentioned by other people, by me, very cobwebby, old feel style to his witchcraft. Not all of his witchcraft is authentically old forest craft, and honestly, you can't get old forest craft from a book. You need to go to the forest. You need to go and find a traditional witch to teach you her traditional craft, and there is a limit of what you can study from books, because a few days ago I rediscovered candle magic through Prometheus, for instance, and it's like something that was built into me as a traditionalist, from my tradition, and it's not something that I've received from just reading a book, because you have to adopt this certain thought pattern that you cannot while you are being critiquing and cherry picking through a book, which is their way to read a book, especially if you are a critical or free thinker. So this book is very good. Now let me read to you the table of contents. Preface, Part 1, Evenwood Caverns, Key Conjurations and Invocations. Invocation to the Turnskin Master, Opener of Doors, which is like Del Papa Legba. Ninefold Conjurations of the Familiar. Incantation for the Scattering of White Dust, which is basically their circle casting. The preparations of the three purities, preparations of fire, preparations of salt, and preparations of water. Conjurations for aspecting and ensorceling water and earth. Conjuration for circumambulation of the faultless fire. Invocation of agency of the ineffable name. Conjuration of the wind and releasing. Conjuration of the 4 points of the compass for walking of sympathy and the identification and bringing to life. Which is basically laying down the ritual base for traditional magic according to his system. It's really much more complex than just Wicca with a stung, like Thorne is trying to say. Part 2, Evenwood's Secret Paths, the Key to Sorcery. Which is, obviously this is the part that interests me the most. The 10 Pillars of Witching of Sorcery. The keys to the art. Rudimentary witchcraft and the implements of art. Awareness of the powers that binds. Part 3, Evenwood's Forest, Witch Ring and the Ring of Sorcery and Service of Sigils. Sigils is an Austin Osman spell contribution to the part, and hence not really a part of traditional witchcraft. Again, this is a system that he builds that takes from Wicca. But I think that, out there from the whole system that are built and takes from Wicca, this is one of the better ones. Service of Sigil and 6 examples sorcerer's walking, meaning he actually tells you how to do stuff. For instance, formulation of the witch ring, which is the circle casting, the service of sigils, biting the tongues of serpents, summoning the witch dream by moth flight, which is, he's talking about astral projection and traveling here, binding lovers to one another. And, maybe one of the things that I like it that he doesn't really, hold to himself the very pedestrian morality that was very much loved at the time by, by the Witches' Council of America or whatnot. The fruitful walking of the womb seed, a pelvis from imperfection, a spell for oak beams. I don't remember all of it, I read it like years ago. Part 4, Evenwood's Protector, the mystical herbology of the mandrake. The mandrake is very important in my tradition, and I don't use mayapple. In Israel, we have actual Mandragora obscinalis, and every year I hunt some, and it's like one of the most powerful magical things that you have. And by the way, this book is like written like, in the stream of thought, but the thought is very much around witchcraft, meaning he's writing like, he's writing in like small passages like this. And in each passage he has like, an idea or an illumination about witchcraft. And the Mandrake episode, before he gets there, he's like, throwing to you like one of the better protection from the home recipes that he has, which is extremely simple, okay? But also very good and much better than things that I saw in other books. After that, Evenwood's Part 5, Evenwood Master of the Craft and the Spell of Flight. The Grand Invitation of the Hivite Witchfather, the Lord of Light, the Father Goat, the Master of the Cunning Lodge and the Endless Fist, the Grand Invocation Litany of the 19 Parts, Cloven-Hoofed Prince, the Lord of Sorcery, searching for the Witchfather. A meditation for the Path of the Turnskin, Master of the Witches, the Spell of Flight, second string of Transservation of the Witch's Rod into Fairy via Geomantic Bonding, Fire, and Riding Pole. Part 6, Threefold Charms, again. The Rites of the Spring, the Rite of Dinky Fire, the Gates of Life and Death, the Nixie and the Moon Pond. And this is just the thing in there. This is just and this book has much more in it than it says in its contents, okay? Because you have all sorts of spells in here, and I think that I liked very much was not so much the Wiccan part, with the Wiccan boring part, but I like the spells. For instance, look, he suggests to you a pavis of warding, like a warding spell that is actually written in the Ben, which is like, the font of witches that was suggested originally by Cornelius Agrippa and then adapted by Barrett to the Magus. And I like this use, and I haven't seen that actually being used so much in a practical walking by other witches, but I use it. I love using it, to inscribe spells. I taught myself this font. And I like to do it, to keep things hidden, but also, to put myself away from the craft and keeping it like exoticized, meaning like outside of me, and thus raising more power. He also, when he talks about the collection and the usage of the magical mandrake, it's wonderful. It's a wonderful thing. And also, but my favorite chapter is about the analysis of a specific spell, which is in part 6, Evenwood's Hidden Forest, Charms and Gateways to the Earth's Skies, which goes like this. I walk through a green forest. There I find three wells, cool and cold. The first called Courage, the second is called Good, and the third is called Stop the Blood. And he makes an analysis for this ancient 12th century Germanic folk charm, which explains its usages, and like he basically, laying out a pattern for you that allows you to really bond with specific egregors, and this episode really changed my craft. Okay, so this is the second thing, so with the protection spell and with the Mandrake chapter and with this is three things. It's a wonderful book. If you want to really go and enrich your craft with something traditional, okay, go and read this one. Actually, and this is something that I'm going to say about Robin Artisson, because I'm critical about his work. I'm not, I'm not like, oh, Robin Artisson is wonderful. I'm recently reading his latest book, The Devil Letters in the Forest, The Letters of the Devil in the Forest, an anthology of traditional witchcraft. And I think that, making an anthology of your own writings while you still live is somewhat presumptuous. And, it's too long, and it's too arduous, and it's too pompous, and it's not so recommended. I think that his recommended books are the books that are, his shorter books are better. Okay? So, I'll do another book review of another one of his books that I like very much, which is surprising, is a spell book. And really go and read that book. Read the Horn of Evenwood. It's a good one. Really, it is. Goodbye and Asher.